Hi, I'm Chloe Grant, and the topic that I chose to review is gender's role in healthcare leadership. The reason that I chose this topic is because I've always been very interested in gender inequality and how it affects the career choices that we make. So gender has been an influence in the career field. Stereotypes and bias have led to certain fields being more male or female dominated. For example, healthcare is one field that is typically female-dominated, and engineering is a field that's typically male-dominated. However, despite females making up a majority of the healthcare field, males still tend to maintain a majority of the leadership roles present in healthcare. So I really wanted to explore this specifically to see why, despite females making up most people in healthcare, why are males still holding majority of the power? So the research question that I came up with is, how does gender influence who is in leadership positions in healthcare? And then the thesis statement I came up with is, the gender hegemony in society creates a healthcare field with male-dominated leadership. So the first article that I reviewed was called Women in Leadership and the Bewildering Glass Ceiling. So this article mainly focused on the glass ceiling and its effect on female leadership. So the glass ceiling is basically an invisible ceiling that represents the barriers that women face to achieve the same goals that men achieve much more easily. So the article talked about how factors that support and strengthen the glass ceiling actually help contribute to underrepresentation by women in leadership roles because it presents a barrier to women and getting these leadership roles. So women make up approximately 80% of the workforce in healthcare, yet only 25% of leaders in healthcare are women, and only 18% of hospital CEOs are female. This was crazy to me considering so many females are in healthcare and so few are representing healthcare. So men tend to have a more general manager position, whereas women tend to be more specialized in healthcare. And so this was one of the reasoning behind male being more prevalent in leadership positions. Women are also typically held to higher standards due to conscious and unconscious gender bias. So, for example, if a female was to be soft-spoken and not very assertive, she would be seen as a weak leader. But if that same female was to go and become more verbal and express things, then she would be seen as aggressive. Whereas if we were to take a male with those same characteristics, this would not be the case. So that has a huge impact on women gaining leadership positions. The work-life balance and expectation of women is a huge contributor to leadership for women. A lot of women that work full-time still also are the primary caregivers for their family. So at the end of the day, they still have to come home and work that full-time job of being the caregiver, whereas typically males do not have this same caregiver expectation. So the article talked about ways to promote women's leadership through development and implementation on multiple levels. So on the individual level, the institution and employer level, the professional leadership or organizational level, and also on the societal level. So they talked about how in order to actually implement change, not only does change have to happen on one of these levels, but it needs to happen on all of these levels. So this article was very prevalent and up to date. It showed the relevance in healthcare specifically, and it used a lot of examples and statistics from multiple career fields to show how not only is this a bias in healthcare, but it's a societal bias. The weaknesses, though, however, of this article, it was written by all female authors, so this could contribute to a bias in the topic. The second article that I reviewed was called Starting the Discussion About Equality and Equity in Leadership. So this one talked about the biases surrounding leadership attributes and promotion are challenges that women must face in advancing their careers. Pay inequalities continue to exist today, and women in almost every single occupation make less than their male counterparts, which in turn makes them less likely to go for leadership positions. So the big thing that this article talked about was the difference between equality versus equity. So if you can look at the picture, you can see that equality is shown on the left, so everyone is given the same amount of resources despite them having completely different needs. So on the right, it shows equity, where individual differences are explored and considered for the individual. So this is a huge thing that needs to be considered when talking about resources females need versus males to gain leadership positions. It also discussed the highly imbalanced distribution of male and female roles in the home, which was also discussed in the previous article. So this article was very prevalent and up to date. It discussed the issues of inequality in our society and how it contributes to the inequality in our career fields. It also did a great job of explaining the difference between equality and equity. The weaknesses, however, this was also written by all female authors, and the focus was specific on audiology, not on healthcare as a whole. The third article that I chose to review was Career Advancement and Gender Equity in Healthcare Management. This one talked about how women are significantly less likely to be promoted to senior manager positions than men. Less than half of male healthcare managers were supportive of increasing the number of women in senior management positions, while over 80% of women were. This was very shocking to me, considering most positions of leadership in healthcare are held by men, so the fact that the majority of them are not supportive of diversifying the leadership was just very shocking. Only 6% of senior executives in the United States are women, and the glass ceiling for women does still exist. So even in a female-dominated occupation, men are more likely than women to be promoted to the very top. And female managers in the study had been in healthcare management longer than their male counterparts. They had a higher age, more experience, education, and training, but they still had a 52% lower odds of being promoted to senior management. This article discussed the issues of inequality in our society and how it contributes to inequality in career fields. Thorough research was conducted with results tables displayed and explained, so it was very detailed. The weaknesses, however, again, it was written by all female authors, so this could contribute to a bias, and the article is 6 years old, so the information is not the most recent. It's not less than 5 years. I interviewed Laura Bogatz, who's the director of nursing at Children's Respite Care Center. The first question that I asked her regarding this topic is, why do you think there are more males in leadership positions in healthcare? This is a summed up version of her response. She stated that women are more focused on family lifestyle. So like we saw in the articles, the work-life balance for females is completely different than it is for males. Females are expected to be the primary caregiver at home. So then I asked, how have you been able to balance a work-life schedule, having a family of 5, and holding a leadership position? She stated that having female colleagues, the environment is very understanding of family life and what that requires, so that was a big thing. And then I asked, do you feel that you are treated differently by colleagues as a female in a leadership position? She stated, no, working with primarily females allows for me to feel comfortable and heard in the workplace. And CRCC does have a female CEO and COO, which I think contributes to the amount of females that work in the facility and the empowerment that they see and the role models that they have. So gender stereotypes do exist not only in the career field, but in our society as a whole, which contributes even more to the bias in leadership. Challenging gender stereotypes and bias needs to be done on an individual, institutional, and societal level in order for any change to actually occur. Broadening diversity in government positions as well as positions of power in career fields will help women to gain more leadership positions as well. And dividing the home life roles of men and women equally will help to split the balances and allow women more time to have these leadership positions. These were my resources for my 3 articles. Thank you so much for watching.